In today's video, we're going to be diving into the upcoming pattern, taking a look here at overall warmer temperatures. We talked about this yesterday, although things will cool down at times, and this will present opportunities for snowfall. Although we are moving into the month of March, we are in meteorological spring. We do know that chances of snowfall, especially in the north, do persist into March, but it is a lot harder to come by than February and January. So we're going to want to take this one with an extra grain of salt when we do see snowfall on screen. I'll explain that a little bit later. Before we dive into things, be sure to check out my newest vlog. It was so much fun to make. We had an amazing February. We had basically, without the wind, a blizzard. I mean, it was seriously heavy snowfall. We got over a foot, I think 12.5 inches of snow, which is just incredible for us down here. So we had so much fun. It was an amazing vlog to film. We had a massive windstorm as well in there. So it is pretty weather related. It is life related. We were building the garden as well during that time. So it's an awesome vlog, and it means so much to me if you guys checked it out. It's on the top right corner of your screen, description and pinned comment down below, where you guys can check that out today. Be sure to like it, leave a comment. It means so much, and it actually helps me out a lot as I'm trying to grow that channel. Let's dive into things, though. You can hear I'm a little bit hoarse. I don't really know why. My girlfriend's birthday was yesterday. I guess I was being kind of loud. I don't really know what happened, but I'm a little bit hoarse. This is for the 9th through the 13th here on this 6 to 10 day temperature outlook, and we can see a pretty significant negative PNA look. So this colder than normal conditions out west, and this is going to cause an overall surge of warmth here in the east and in the central states in particular. And this is going to present some thunderstorm risks, including one that is ongoing as we speak. We have an enhanced risk. We had one yesterday, we have one today, and we have one tomorrow for the southeast and southern mid-Atlantic as well. So a lot of areas struggling with this severe weather. Really concerning stuff. So we're going to show you guys all of that, including the Storm Prediction Center outlooks at the end of this video. Now, as we just take a look, we're going to be taking a look here at the precipitation as well for this 9th through 13th time frame. And we can see it's going to be quite stormy, especially along the west here, where plenty of storm systems are going to move onshore to the northwest and the southwest here. There's just going to be a barrage of storms. A little bit of a drier patch for the south central states, and then the east as well. Here we're going to be dealing with above average precipitation as well. Just not quite as much as the west, but still above normal during this time frame. For the temperatures in the 8 to 14 day range, this is going to be for March 11th through 17th. We see this continued cold trend for the west, which is going to be a continued negative PNA trend, which is going to continue to cause the warmth here in the east to really just surge. And now it's really centered over the east. So things getting warmer as we reach the midway point of the month. And again, like I said, this isn't going to be a continuous thing. This is going to be 3 days of warmth followed by 1 to 2 days of cold, and so on and so forth. And there will be little bits of opportunity at cold and snow in there during this entire time. As we look at the precipitation, we see that the west stays above average, and so does the east. And really a lot of the central states, including the south central, start to get a little bit better. We do see a little bit of drier conditions there for parts of southern Texas, but really this is closer to normal than it even was. So looking better and better for these areas later on. Looking at the past 3 days, which is going to be March 2nd through, or better yet, I think this should be March 1st through 4th. Something like the morning of the 4th, so not the entire day. Here we will learn more as we move on, but this is your meteorological spring so far for the most part, and I know we're only 3 days into it, but we've seen warmth actually for a lot of the west and central states, and we've actually seen cooler conditions for a lot of the east here, but this is going to change, as we know, in a big way leading into a lot of March. As we take a look at the European model, we're looking at this afternoon, so things in the past, but we do have this strong low here and a lot of severe weather underneath, where we've really seen a linear storm mode take over, and that creates a big threat for damaging wind oftentimes. So we are seeing this really linear storm, wind-driven severe weather threats. There has been some tornado warnings and even some tornadoes at times, and probably some hail in there, especially in the south central states. But as this moves eastward, we do anticipate that this is going to continue to be a wind-driven threat and a linear storm mode. So expect nobody to really miss it, because from the top to the bottom, it's going to just be a line of these intense showers and thunderstorms. And again, that threat for wind is really elevated. We'll talk about that later on, but we even have a hatched risk for damaging wind throughout a lot of this, indicating that even stronger than what would typically be considered severe winds are going to be possible. So very intense winds with this one. I want to keep moving us forward to where you're probably watching this video. So let's take a look at 10 p.m. tonight. Probably a little bit after you're watching this video or during it, or maybe before. Maybe you're watching this tomorrow. Regardless, this is the look for Tuesday evening into Wednesday. We do see this strong low 982 over northern Missouri. Some snowfall going for Minnesota, Nebraska, South Dakota, Iowa, even down into Kansas. So this is a very intense low, and this is the driving force behind all of this. And we're going to see this kind of just move up towards the Great Lakes as this cold front and very linear storm continues here along this area. And this is a really classic setup. We have the cold front there. We can tell there's a warm front way up here. So it's drawing in all of this moisture and warmth out ahead of that, again, linear storm. And this is creating a lot of instability out ahead of things as this cold and dry air arrives. And that's why we're seeing such intense storms along this area. So overnight, we're going to be talking about states like Mississippi, Louisiana, Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky, Illinois, Missouri, maybe even Indiana there for these intense thunderstorms. And as we're moving towards the morning hour, we're going to see a lot of Ohio, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, Eastern Kentucky, Western Virginia, Eastern Tennessee, Western North Carolina, Western South Carolina, areas of Georgia, and even areas of Florida down there dealing with this threat. And as we move towards the afternoon, just a little bit further, we see that this is when it's arriving for more coastal areas of North Carolina, Virginia, South Carolina there, where we do have that level 3 out of 5 enhanced risk for severe weather for these areas. And, you know, this is my local area, as a lot of you know. This will also be in the March vlog. I'm going to be really covering this event because it's been actually 2 years since I've seen an enhanced risk. So this is our biggest threat of severe weather in a year or two. It's really been a long time. And I think it was the summer of 2023, if I'm not mistaken, the last time we saw one. And it's only early March, so off to a really interesting start in the southeast and southern mid-Atlantic areas here. Definitely going to be one. So again, check out the vlog channel, subscribe, check out the past ones. I'm working really hard on that channel, and you guys' support means so much to me. Let's take a look at what happens after this passes, though. We'll dive more into that severe weather threat a little bit towards the end of the video, as we mentioned. Here's Thursday afternoon, and obviously with this cold front coming through, your jet stream looks something like this. So we get a bit of a trough. Again, we're expecting warmer temperatures overall throughout the upcoming pattern, but this is an example of a colder day that is in there, and it is quite wintry. We're talking lows well below freezing, highs stuck in the 40s and 50s, maybe even 30s up north. So right back down to those winter-like temperatures. And we're only 6 days by this point removed from winter, meteorological winter. So it makes sense that winter temperatures are still kind of hanging around at times. We do see snow showers throughout parts of the Ohio Valley and areas of Canada there, as we still have this very strong low over eastern Canada. So that is still bringing some impacts. We do see out west for a lot of the mountainous west and even some of the lower elevation areas. We do have a tandem team of lows here, one in eastern Colorado, one over Idaho. And this is creating a lot of snowfall for many areas throughout the Sierra Nevada mountains, the Rockies, and a lot of surrounding regions. So in just a few days, we might be talking about a major snowfall situation out there in the west. As we keep going, I want to take us towards Friday on the 7th. We see that a lot of this low pressure transfers towards the central states. It has weakened quite a bit down to 1,000 millibar. This isn't the most intense low in the world, but we do see some showers and even snow showers to the north of it here. Still some residual kind of precipitation here throughout the Rockies and Southwest. Definitely some snowfall happening in those mountainous areas. As we move towards Saturday afternoon on the 8th, what we're seeing is a lot of the deeper south throughout the south central states and some of the southeastern states. We are seeing kind of a trifecta of precipitation. We see snowfall here throughout New Mexico and areas of Texas. We see showery activity just to the south of there. And likely, I would say, thunderstorm activity happening here for areas near coastal Texas, coastal Louisiana, coastal Mississippi, coastal Alabama, and that panhandle area of Florida. So the more southern end of things. But still, I mean, we have a positive PNA look by this point. Warmer temperatures really set up in higher pressure over the west. And for the time being, that is presenting itself as colder temperatures in the east, as it always tends to do. As we keep going towards Sunday on the 9th, we continue to see this threat of thunderstorms, which I really feel like we're seeing mostly showery activity throughout this one. Your lowest pressure is offshore there in the Gulf. Usually, if you're to the north of a low, you're seeing much more showery and rainfall activity as opposed to thunderstorms. But don't be surprised if areas, again, in this more coastal region is seeing thunderstorms. But this probably back here is coming in the form of mostly just showers. Again, Sunday the 9th there. Here is Monday the 10th. We do get a snow system over the northeast, but like I told you guys, we have to take that with a grain of salt than what we saw yesterday. This is much more minor than what we saw yesterday. This time of year, it's very far-fetched to see a massive snowstorm, and it's nowhere near impossible. We have seen it before. A lot of people in the comments were treating it as impossible. Couldn't be further from the truth, but really tough, and I did suspect that we would see major changes on the models, and we've seen it here. So some snowfall possible, but really nothing too crazy. We do see by Tuesday afternoon on the 11th, we get some snowfall moving back into the mountainous west, especially the Cascades and Rockies here. Some rainfall in the more coastal and lower elevation regions. Wednesday afternoon on the 12th, we see that this actually gets more intense for the Sierra Nevada mountains and Cascades, where we have this low here near Washington, a weaker secondary low down here by California, and we're just seeing overall snowfall and rainfall abundantly throughout these areas. And simultaneously, we're dealing with colder temperatures in the west and really warm temperatures in the east by Wednesday the 12th here, as we're seeing more of a negative PNA setup now. So you can tell we're really jumping back and forth here between these air masses. We do see a 994 here over Wisconsin and Minnesota, but where's the precipitation? A very low precipitation, intense low here. This is why I always tell you guys, we could see some pretty nasty stuff out of some weaker low pressure systems, and we could see a whole lot of nothing out of stronger low pressure systems. And that's not to say that stronger lows typically bring less impacts than weaker lows. We know that the lower the pressure, the more chance of major impacts, but it's not true every single time. And I think that's the point here. As we keep going towards Thursday the 13th, we do see this low move over the Great Lakes, and we do begin to see precipitation from it. And I suspect with this little bit of a warm front out front of it, we see warmer, humid temperatures out ahead of it. We likely will be seeing, to some extent, a thunderstorm and perhaps severe weather threat with this one as well if we see something like this. Although we're moving towards hours 222, so we're longer into the whole forecast by this point. So we're getting deep in there to where we could see some major changes. The west continues to be bombarded. We see a stronger low up here by western Montana, a weaker one near Colorado, and really we're just seeing a lot of rainfall, a lot of snowfall out west here by the 13th as well. As we reach towards the 14th, we see a lot of that low pressure takes off for Oklahoma here. Continued snowfall for parts of the Sierra Nevada, parts of the Cascades, and for the Rockies, a little bit weaker snowfall. The strongest area of snowfall is going to be these northern plains here, at least on this frame. But again, when we're moving towards the 10-day mark, you can see changes, pretty significant ones oftentimes. So take it with a grain of salt, especially when it comes to the snowfall. I think the bigger thing here is we have a 984 over Oklahoma. This really intense cold front look, kind of a drier warm front out here to the east. And this would certainly be a severe weather threat, again, for Kansas, Missouri, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Texas, and Louisiana there. At least a thunderstorm threat, if not another pretty substantial severe weather threat here. Definitely something to keep our eyes on. The trend is these early season severe weather events. It feels more like April than March, but here we are. That's what happens when you get above normal temperatures. It's like you're a month ahead. When we look at Saturday afternoon here, we do see this low is somewhere here over, I would say, in between Kentucky and West Virginia here. We do see the southeast dealing with some thunderstorms, some showers. We see just a lot of activity in general kind of around. And this could also be an extension of that western severe weather threat moving into the southeast area again. Definitely something to watch for. Some snowfall over the Midwest, Ohio Valley, and Mid-Atlantic perhaps, but it is marginal still. The west, really snowy by this point as well, the 15th. Sunday, we get a lot quieter. I'm not really going to break it down. There's some showers in some spots, but you can clearly see it on screen. but really nothing major in the way of temperature pattern or really storms here by Sunday the 16th on this model. Monday the 17th is another quick glimpse at another kind of warmer in the west, colder in the east pattern here, as we get this really quick cold blast. And if it wasn't for these, I could probably get my garden started outside, but they are happening and they're continuing to happen, and that's why we wait. The west does see another substantial storm system start to move onshore. Again, snowfall in the Sierra Nevadas, the Rockies, the Cascades, rainfall in other areas. Really just another one. It's just been so many by this point, so it's almost not even really notable. Snowfall prevails into Tuesday, the 18th, no surprise. And then as we reach towards Wednesday morning, things get interesting again. The 19th, snowfall in the west, more major lows, but we get this 989 over Iowa, northern Missouri. Some activity around the warm front area here, so some rainfall here. Could develop a warm front, cold front look again with this one. This could present itself as another severe weather threat with a cold front underneath if things go accordingly. That would be the trend. It would be very interesting. And yeah, just pretty realistic to think that that could for sure happen in the pattern we've been in. So the trend is these continuous strong lows moving through the middle of the nation up into more of like the Great Lakes and Northeast, bringing these thunderstorm and severe weather threats underneath continuously over and over and over again. GFS model, we're going to really just look for differences, but we see our initial storm, no huge ones. We do see a much more substantial snowfall threat for the Midwest into the Ohio Valley, almost right out of the gate. I mean, we're looking at Friday the 7th, a couple of days from now. Some snowfall around for Iowa, northern Illinois, southern Wisconsin, northern Indiana, northern Ohio, and southern Michigan there. Really seeing this activity once again popping up. Let's keep going. That does move into the mid-Atlantic as a little bit of a more minor to moderate snowfall threat. I would love for you guys in southern Pennsylvania into New Jersey to get snowfall. Do not get your hopes too far up. We did not see this on the European model, but I am hoping, my hopes aren't too far up, but I am hoping that you guys get snowfall for sure. Sunday, we do see this southern system pass through. Some rainfall, maybe some thunderstorms in the southeast, and this is an interesting threat. We're still 5 days away here at 120 hours. We get this low here, and we have this cold just to the north, and I suspect this could pose another threat to these like southern mid-Atlantic areas, southern Ohio Valley. It's something to watch, and it's really a long shot. Typically, when I'm kind of pointing out these threats that aren't even really coming together on the models yet, we have seen them come through and actually develop sometimes, but again, don't get your hopes too far up, but it is just potential here, Sunday the 9th. As we keep going towards Monday the 10th, we're very quiet. We're going to keep going towards Tuesday the 11th, where really outside of the west, we're not dealing with much in the way of precipitation. Wednesday the 12th, we start to get something interesting. A low here over Kansas. Some thunderstorms getting going out ahead of things. This could be our next severe weather threat. Wednesday the 12th. Thursday the 13th here. And we do, I would suspect, have thunderstorms going on out ahead and underneath this low. And the snowfall just starts to really take off out west. I mean, that is crazy, crazy stuff. Friday, it's continuing, but look at this monster, 979 over Nebraska, a little further north than our Kansas low just a moment ago, but another massive, massive low pressure system with heavy snowfall throughout the Rockies and the plains just to the east of the Rockies. And let's see what happens in the following hours. Yeah, I had a feeling we would see a cold front develop, and this is very similar to our upcoming one, where the cold front is extended out ahead of things, and we have this warm front out ahead, so we get this really rich, warm, and humid air mass here out ahead of things, the cold, dry, cold front, that really leads to a severe weather threat, so I think that this could be another date to watch. Both of our models had this, I think, and we have a massive northern plains, upper Midwest, and Rockies snowstorm behind and over top of this thing too. So this would be a very just impactful winter storm, I would call it, because we just have so many different types of impacts happening. This could be another huge situation. We see that this threat presents itself between Saturday and Sunday for the eastern seaboard as well. So this reaches from the central states all the way through to the east. Again, very similarly to our system coming up just today and tomorrow. As we keep going, we do get colder for a time here before we warm up, and then we cool back down. And right at the end of the model run, this model, we have a positive PNA, colder temperatures here across the central states, something like this. And it wants to bring a low along that would bring a threat of snowfall to the Ohio Valley, Midwest, and Mid-Atlantic. I'm showing you this because we show you everything on the models, but again, it's hours 384. This, with almost complete certainty, will be completely different or even, completely gone by the next model run. When we're looking beyond 12 days, especially, I mean, it's a very, very slim chance that we see things go very similarly to these models. Looking at the total precipitation, the West is doing phenomenal. The East is doing very good, not quite as good as the West, but we see at least slightly below average precipitation, upwards of even neutral or a little bit above average. So very close to normal for most of these areas. Let's take a look at the anomalies. And again, we're within a fraction of an inch of being within normal for most of these areas. So just a good look. But the Southwest, especially here, does crazy good with the precipitation. We are seeing an inch, 2 inches, 3 inches, or even more inches above average here in the Southwest, maybe even more inches. So just crazy amounts of precipitation, especially for California. Looking at the total snowfall in the European model, monstrous amounts for the West, but in particular those Sierra Nevada mountains in California, because of that hugely above average precipitation. You can imagine that is going to result in many, many feet of snowfall if we see that come true. The Ohio Valley, the Mid-Atlantic, Southern New England, these areas are pretty much left in the dry as far as snowfall, unfortunately. GFS model is a little bit more open to you guys getting snowfall in these pockets, but still nothing great. In the West, I mean, does phenomenal in this model as well. Really, that's the trend on all of these models. We'll look at the European model for the temperature pattern, and we really see a warming trend here for today. Tomorrow on Wednesday. Thursday, we see that cold front come through finally, so we cool back down, and that does last for a bit of Friday. The southeast warms up, but we get more cold air coming in for the weekend. And then we start to warm, especially during those high temperatures for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. That's the 11th, 12th, 13th. And I mean, that even extends into the 14th before we get more cold air interacting. And then it looks like we're warming back up as we reach towards like the 18th, 19th, 20th. This is the end of the model run, but again, we're revolving between these cold air masses, the warm air masses. March, it's similar to like September, October, March and April are, where it's a battle. You know, you're not going to get these purely hot patterns. You're not going to get these purely cold patterns very often. It's oftentimes going to be this back and forth, just violent battle between the two air masses. And it's what really leads to some of these severe weather threats. Just typically it happens in late March into April more than this very early March pattern. Because if you think about it, like the enhanced risk for the Southeast here, that very well could have been a week ago in late February, and that would be extremely early. So when you're looking at the first week of March, it's hardly removed from February. Really interesting seeing stuff like this early on. Storm Prediction Center outlook. We'll break it down. This is day 1, so today on Wednesday the 5th, or better yet, Tuesday the 4th, into the very early morning of Wednesday the 5th, about, I think, 6, 7 a.m., something like that. So over today and overnight is how they do these. In the lighter greens, we have a general thunderstorm risk where we expect general thunderstorms. Anything is, of course, possible, but no severe weather is expected. The dark green there is what we call our level 1 marginal risk, and again, it's 1 out of 5, so that's the way to look at it. The yellow there is your level 2 slight risk out of 5, where we expect a little bit more scattered about severe weather to perhaps occur in there. And then the level 3 enhanced area we see for Arkansas, parts of Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Panhandle of Florida. That's where we expect a little bit more widespread severe weather activity to be very possible. Looking at day 2, that's day 3. Day 2, we again see that general thunderstorm risk, the marginal, the slight risk, which extends all the way to Lake Erie there in parts of Ohio and areas like Erie, Pennsylvania, there touching the lake. That's a level 2 out of 5. That's a pretty intense risk, again, this early for areas that far north. And then for southern Virginia, especially southeastern Virginia, through the eastern half of North Carolina, and then that eastern half or maybe third of South Carolina, we have the level 3 enhanced risk, where the biggest threat is evident for these thunderstorms, the damaging wind especially, like I mentioned, but even tornadoes could be possible. We're going to be watching for all of these things. Really, really dangerous situation. So I want you guys to take it so seriously, even if you're not in the enhanced risk. I mean, the slight risk, the marginal. The reason why that risk is there from the Storm Prediction Center is because there is a chance of these severe things to happen, these damaging things to happen. It's really, really something to watch. I want you guys to take it very seriously, and we're going to get through it. We're going to get through it. And unfortunately, as we move into the spring, there'll probably be a lot more of this type of stuff. So we'll be watching it closely. Be sure to subscribe. We upload every single day. You can even hit the bell icon for daily notifications when we upload so you never miss one. Be sure to like the video if you did enjoy it. Leave a comment down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.